There is no known human culture anywhere in history that did not have music. Not one. The oldest confirmed instruments ever found are bone flutes, carved from vulture wing bones, 40,000 years old, found in a cave in southwestern Germany. We don't know what they played on them. We don't fully know why they needed to play anything at all. No other animal makes music for its own enjoyment. And right now, with everything we know about the brain and evolution, we still cannot fully explain why music exists. This video is about that question. Charles Darwin was baffled by music. He had explained almost everything else about the natural world: the peacock's tail, the giraffe's neck, the human hand. But music stopped him. In 1871, in The Descent of Man, he wrote that music is, and this is a direct quote from the man who solved evolution, the greatest mystery, not the eye, not the brain, not consciousness, music. He thought music might have started as a mating call, our half-human ancestors using rhythmic sounds to attract partners, the way birds do. It was a reasonable guess. But 150 years of research later, scientists mostly don't buy it. In 1997, a Harvard psychologist named Steven Pinker decided he had the answer. His answer: music is useless. Not just unimportant, biologically useless, in the way that cheesecake is useless. Cheesecake, Pinker argued, hijacks the brain's pleasure circuits that evolved for real things like ripe fruit and fatty meat, and delivers a hit of pleasure without doing anything useful. Music does the same thing, he said. It tricks the brain into releasing pleasure chemicals by mimicking the sounds of emotional speech, of movement, of pattern. He called it auditory cheesecake. Musicians everywhere were furious. Neuroscientists were furious. Philosophers were furious. And Pinker was probably wrong. Because if music is just cheesecake, if it's just a pleasant accident with no real purpose, then why does every known human society make it? Cheesecake doesn't appear in every culture on Earth. Music does. Something is going on. Here are the 3 theories that researchers actually take seriously. Theory 1. Music began as a way for mothers to communicate with infants before language existed. In every culture on Earth, caregivers talk to babies in a specific way. Slow, melodic, with exaggerated pitch changes that rise and fall like a song. Scientists call this motherese. And the theory is, motherese is the earliest form of music, before words, before grammar, before any of it. The first communication between humans was a song. Theory 2. Music is grooming at a distance. Robin Dunbar, the same scientist who worked out the maximum number of relationships a human brain can maintain, proposed that humans have a problem. Our social groups grew too large to manage through physical grooming alone, the way other primates do. Touching, picking, contact. Dunbar's proposal: music evolved as the solution. You can sing with 100 people at once. You cannot groom 100 people at once. When people make music together, the brain releases the same endorphins that physical touch releases. The tribe that sang together stayed together, and the tribes that stayed together survived. Theory 3, and this one is the strangest, is that music makes us feel what it feels like to be a baby. The melodic rise and fall of music, the way a melody lifts and drops, builds and releases, is almost identical to the melodic pattern of a mother's voice when she soothes an infant. Your brain learned this pattern before it learned anything else, and music never stopped triggering that ancient learned response. This might be why music makes you cry, not because the song is sad, but because somewhere in your nervous system, being held is still the safest thing you have ever felt. Scientists haven't agreed on which of these theories is right. It might be all 3 working together. It might be something else entirely that we haven't discovered yet. What we do know is this: music does something to the brain that nothing else does in quite the same way. When you hear a piece of music you love, your brain lights up in the auditory cortex, the reward system, the motor system, and the emotional memory system simultaneously. No other stimulus, not food, not touch, not visual art, activates that particular combination of brain regions at the same time. That is why it can stop you in the middle of a street. That is why it can make you cry without knowing why. That is why it has been present in every human society that has ever existed. The oldest instrument we have ever found is a bone flute in a cave in Germany, 40,000 years old. Somebody made it. Somebody played it. Somebody needed to. Darwin couldn't explain why. Pinker thought he could and was probably wrong. The scientists of 2025 are still arguing. Tonight you will probably put on music for no particular reason. You won't think about why. But somewhere in your brain, a response as old as the species is doing its work. The same response that activated in the person who made a bone flute in a cave in Germany 40,000 years ago. We still don't know why any of this works, and yet here we are.